Hey guys, Roman Reaper here. So I did it. I bit the bullet. Last night I watched War of the Worlds on Prime Video. This is of course the newest adaptation of the H.G. Wells novel, directed by Rich Lee and produced by Timur Bekmambetov. Obviously there have been many adaptations over the years, whether it be the Orson Welles radio production or the Steven Spielberg movie with Tom Cruise. So, how do you add something fresh to a story that's been oft told? Well, you make it into a screen life movie. After all, worked for searching. But it's clearly not landed the way the filmmakers intended because upon its release, it basically became a laughing stock across social media. So, obviously, morbid curiosity got the better of me and I had to check it out. But is this the so bad it's good trashterpiece of the decade? Let's find out. So the film follows Will Radford, a top analyst working at the Department for Homeland Security, when he's not monitoring domestic threats like a rebel network known as the Disruptors. He's monitoring the lives of his two kids, Faith and David. However, he soon finds himself monitoring threats from beyond the planet as he bears witness to a full-scale alien invasion. However, amidst the global destruction and devastation the aliens are causing, he ends up discovering truths that could flip everything he knew about his line of work and the government he works for right on its head. So it's worth noting that this was shot in 2020 and kept on the shelf for 5 years, only getting its release date about a week in advance. Telltale signs of a quality movie, and well, the signs weren't misleading because this is terrible. It is a truly, truly terrible movie, and yet at the same time, it is so funny. Basically, the Room of War of the Worlds adaptations. Look, to its credit, there's an idea here, a sort of screen life based War of the Worlds, and you could have easily used that, using the source material as a way to tap in to, timely fears around technology and surveillance. In execution, however, it falls flat at basically every turn because, my god, the story wise, this thing is a mess. Like, seriously, every single scene is just, packed with only plot specific dialogue, just really, really clunky exposition with about the subtlety of a punch in the face. Like, it seriously feels like the film is grabbing you by the shoulders, shaking you about, and going, "This is what is happening." It's so on the nose, and this extends to the use of news broadcasts. By the way, yes, news broadcasts in movies are obviously used as a quick way to get exposition across, but this feels particularly egregious because it never at any point feels like newsreaders, reading the facts from a place of neutrality. It literally just feels like they're, just feels like what it is, actors reading out plot specific dialogue solely for the sake of moving things forward. And yet somehow there is no urgency or stakes to this whatsoever because, we're observing all this death and destruction from, like, behind a screen. So it feels really, really passive and hard to actually invest in. Not least because anytime we actually see the alien invasion and the tripods, it looks terrible. Because, first of all, they have a really generic looking sci fi tech based design, but also the effects are fucking so cheap. Like, it literally looks like those free apps you'd get on your phone. Those like free effects apps where you press a few buttons and hey presto, you've created a video of like a helicopter exploding in your bedroom. That is what this film's effects look like. It is so bad. It's also hard to actually invest in the characters. They hardly behave and speak like real human beings because, again, every single scene is exposition. There's at no point is there any room to just let it breathe and just sort of sit with the characters for a bit. No, it's constantly just, telling you the plot as it is happening. These are not characters. these are, vehicles for plot and exposition. I mean, again, beyond the dialogue, like, none of their actions actually feel like things that real human beings do. I mean, not least, our main character, Will, who, almost psychotically monitors his kids' lives from his workspace. It is just like so bizarre. I mean, like, the acting across the board is pretty flat. I mean, to be fair, considering with the dialogue they have to work with gems like they're hacking me, I'm being hacked, and that was freaking intense. I don't blame them. I mean, we're basically relegating actors like Eva Longoria and Clark Gregg to just kind of phone it in. But my god, can we talk about Ice Cube for a moment here? Because, like, he is hilarious. Like, he is so miscast as this security expert. Like, and don't get me wrong, he has given good performances in films. I thought he made for a very good villain in TMNT Mutant Mayhem. But he is the complete wrong choice for this role because, I mean, again, Ice Cube as a security expert, like, uh, you know, like, it takes a lot of suspension of disbelief to buy into that one. But also, his acting is too broad. So it requires a bit more reserve and sort of more nuance to the acting here. But, like, he plays it so broad and just really overplays these reactions because he spends 90% of the running time just looking confused. Again, really diluting the urgency of things when he's witnessing these devastating events and just looking like, hmm? But every once in a while he'll do these like really over the top shock reactions, like, and when he's not doing that, he's doing like really characterful things. Like, seriously, take a shot for each time you see him adjust his glasses. Like, pair that up with the shock reactions, you'll probably die of alcohol poisoning. Yeah, it's so funny. And like, but problem is, he's also basically like caught in the middle of a film that does not know what it wants to be. Like, yes, it wants to be a film about this alien invasion, but then it also at the same time adds in this like hacker conspiracy plot that is just like so like bizarre. Again, it really does have such a boomer understanding of how hacking works, but also delivers some twists and reveals that are so obvious and easily guessable. The script may as well have just been written on a piece of glass. Like, that is how like transparent this thing is. But it's clearly endemic of the film's biggest issue is that it has no idea where it stands on the issue of government and corporate surveillance. It seems to be proudly taking a stance against it. But the problem is, right from the start, it really undermines this with, just freely featuring brands like Google, Facebook, Microsoft, almost like it's an ad for those big corporate brands. And that is before we get to the big final act triumphant moment and with the most like egregious Amazon product placement I have ever seen. Like it really undermines any kind of point the film is making. Where in the final act, it just sort of stands there and cheers on Amazon as this like as Prime Air comes in to save the day. Like almost like the film is saying, Jeff Bezos, your corporate empire is brilliant. As it saves the world. It's so funny. I genuinely cannot believe this is a real plot point in a major motion picture released in the year 2025. Yeah, it is. Oh, just terrible. Overall, War of the Worlds is quite possibly one of the worst films I have ever seen. It is so inept and misguided in every single one of its creative decisions. that it just becomes unintentionally hilarious. If you're in need of a laugh, I highly recommend you give this one a watch. Out of 10, War of the Worlds gets a 1. Hey, things can only look up from here, right? So, let me know down in the comments. Have you seen War of the Worlds? What did you think of it? What was your favourite moment of unintentional hilarity in the film? And what is your favourite adaptation of the H.G. Wells novel? Let me know all that down in the comments. Don't forget to hit the thumbs up button if you enjoyed. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button if you're new. And don't forget to turn on post notifications so you don't miss an upload.